Habits have a tendency to make or break our relationships. Often they become a part of who we are, and in that sense, they can either help or hurt. What are these habits that can negatively impact our relationships? And if we have any of those, what can we do to start addressing them? My name is Leanna Allen, and you are tuned into Mixed Essence. Let's have this conversation. So today it is my pleasure to welcome the two of you to this episode of Mixed Essence. I have with me Mr. Ezzy Crandon, who has previously graced our show with his presence. And for the first time, we have with us Pastor Wendell Jeffrey, who is the founder of Practical Christianities Ministries and the Behavior Modification Center. He's a criminologist, a pastor, a contractor, a father, a husband of 34 years. He wears many hats and he does them so well. So, Pastor Jeffrey, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For being here with us today.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, of course. So today we want to discuss destructive habits that can kill love. Big topic, as all of our topics have been so far. But we want to start chipping away at it, at least today. And if there is a need, of course, to revisit it in the future, we can do that. But before we get into what are these destructive habits and so on, let's just lay the foundation of what we mean by habits in the first place. So when we say that somebody has the habit of doing this or the habit of doing that, what exactly are we talking about here? Just some initial thoughts.
Okay. I'll go first because I'm younger.
Okay.
Than Pastor Jeffrey. And if I'm wrong, I know you will correct me.
Okay.
Liana, I think of it as those recurring things that we do. That sometimes we're conscious that we're doing it, and sometimes it's unconscious that we're doing them. Mm-hmm. But the effect is still the same, right? Mm-hmm. The effect are negative. And today we're talking about those habits in the context of relationships. Right. And I want to use my own experience because I believe people can relate. I came from an environment where shouting was a thing of the day. Mm-hmm. And so when you have to address something, child does something wrong, your spouse, you tend to shout, right? As if that, and you wonder afterwards, do I really need to shout? Mm-hmm. So for me, I think we really have to zero in on ourselves and recognize that when you do something, think carefully what you're doing and why you're doing it and the effect it will have on someone.
Okay. I like that. Pastor?
Well, as it relates to habits, I think that habits are default behaviors. So a person, for instance, I just moved. And I still have to count the amount of houses when I'm going home, right? I have to count the amount of houses. I have to look to see the color of the house. Okay. Occasionally, I find myself turning into the wrong driveway because there are a couple of houses that look like mine, But the time will come when I will drive straight home and turn into the driveway as the habit, as getting home becomes a habit. Right. And so within relationships, we find that same thing happens. People habitually do things. And like, as he was saying, some of the behaviors are habitual behaviors. And as it relates to the topic today, some of them are negative, habitually negative behaviors, and they're default. And so you have to pay attention. Of course, if you want your relationship to work, you want your relationship to grow, you want to have a happy relationship, you have to pay attention to the behaviors that are negative, yet they are ingrained or habitual behaviors.
I like that. And that's so true. I believe in sharing experiences, like you said. And there are some things before you get into marriage. It isn't until you're on the other side of that, or even just in a committed relationship with someone, that unless it is brought to your attention, you don't know why is it. You never even sometimes consider it to be something that is a part of you. I could recall earlier in our relationship, I had a tendency to say, I don't care. Yeah, I know you winced at that, right? But not in relation to my now husband. But if we're speaking about a specific issue where somebody has a strong opinion about something as it relates to me or as it relates to him or so on, my default was like, I don't care. Doesn't bother me. Unaffected. I have learned over time that don't care has its positives and negatives.
Right.
But for him, it was a habit that I had. And there was this whole phase of going through, this not caring thing, but it was just a part of who I was. It was just my default setting, like you're saying. So when we're talking about these destructive habits and destructive habits that can kill love, that's some serious stuff.
It is.
What are some of the destructive habits or patterns that you have noticed, that you're aware of, or you may have noticed in yourself or in other people, that have the potential to kill love in your relationship?
So I was married. We were married, my wife and I, for 34 years. Many years ago. I'm 50 something now, and I was married when I was 21. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Congratulations. That is an accomplishment. That's an accomplishment in this day and age.
And to be happily married, and those of you who follow us on
Yes,
Facebook,
yes.
you would see my wife and I play hide and seek and all kind of thing, and so on. So what causes that? We made a commitment to each other all in the marriage that we would never say anything to each other that we have to regret, no matter how angry we are. So normally what happens in relationships is by default you get angry, and there's the notion that cussing got backdoor. So I can tell you whatever. I can call you I can call you all these different things, right? And because my default behavior is to tell you what I feel when I'm angry. And then when we make up now, you expect the person to not remember you said those things.
Yeah.
But the mind doesn't work like that.
Very true.
See? So what you do when you use these bad words and when you shout and when you try to demean the person is that person has a register of those things.
Sure.
And then at quite unexpected times, they rise to the surface, and it adds to the killing of the relationship.
Yeah.
So do not, if you're in a relationship, make a pledge. Do not say anything to your spouse that you have to regret after. And that's normally a good practice. It's hard to do because your pride has to die. You have to say to yourself, no matter how angry I want to tell this girl, I want to tell her. But the agreement is, I'm not going to tell her. So you live your life in the midst of your heated argument, the most heated. Role play with yourself. Think of the most heated conversation you could have, and then tell yourself, I am not going to say what I really want to say if I know I have to regret it.
I have a follow-up question. Go ahead.
Pastor Jeffrey, I feel like, and there is another habit coming out of what you're talking about, where you hurt people and you think there's this habit of thinking once you say I'm sorry and you buy a rose and a cake and so on, that this person is supposed to forget all these things. That's another habit that we have, our society has. You hurt people, I say I'm sorry.
Right.
And we feel like that is
why you still mad at me?
You owe me forgiveness.
You know what I mean?
I'm
so
sorry.
Really, like, so when we talk about habit, it's not just the act, but also expectations, because like society has given us a whole lot of things to go and work with. That, okay, once this happened, this is the reaction that should follow. And it's like we don't isolate relationship and experiences anymore. Like everything comes under one blanket thing. But what he's providing for you. Yeah, the man is hitting. He has a habit of hitting the woman, but he's sorry and he's crying. And she. I don't want to go too much into that, yes?
So I have a follow-up question just on that one. How do you do that? Because not everybody, what are some practical things you can do to not get there? If you have a habit of angry outbursts and you grew up in a house where people just said what they wanted to say, this is your orientation, this is what you understand to be normal behavior. You're with somebody now who does not have that background, who is not accustomed to people yelling at them and shouting at them and all of that. If it is that you realize that this is something that you struggle with and you all make an agreement, what is the alternative? What do you do when you're heated and you want to just yell at this person? What is like a practical alternative that you can cultivate to now become a habit of what you do instead of the shouting down?
Oh my, I feel like this is such a beautiful topic, Liana. I feel like running around these chairs. Because for me, my wife is an extension of me. Okay. My wife is an extension of me. If my wife is not happy, I am not happy. When my wife is happy, I am happy. When my wife is hurting, I am hurting. My wife is an extension of me. So that's in my mind. Okay. So when I hurt her, I hurt me. These are things that have to form the basis of your relationship. I want this young lady to be happy because it's going to make me happy. Right. I want her to be happy because she's a child of God and I'm a Christian. Whatever it is that would make you understand that you cannot hurt this person. So it's a default behavior. Now, once you have that in your head as default behavior, a time comes or the times come for you to test it because you're going to get angry with the person.
Right, yeah.
Good. So as angry as you are, you go back to your rehearsed agenda, your rehearsed mantra, which is, she's a child of God. I'm a Christian. She's an extension of me. So whatever comes out of my mouth, I must understand that I am accountable to God for it, and I'm accountable to me because whatever I'm going to tell her now is what I am telling myself. So if I call her an idiot, it is because an idiot chose to marry me. So that's why she's an idiot, because she married me. So you can't blame her for being the idiot when she chose you, because then you would be a bigger idiot. So whatever you say, so that's a premise, right?
Okay.
Right, good. So then you have to deal with the issues. And sometimes, as an extension of this, what you realize when you go to it with that is that the issue really isn't a big thing, It is what you do in the moment that becomes the big thing. Sure. So sometimes you tell the person something, the argument is long over whatever it was you were dealing with, but it's what you told the person that the person goes on
stewing over for all this time.
Yeah, so you tell the person they wash your white shirt with something blue, and it's an expensive white shirt that somebody gave you. You're what kind of idiot? You can't see the shirt white? Well, honey, I thought you mean you thought? You're a real idiot. I didn't even know why I marry you.
Wait
3 months after that now, the shirt put in bleach, the shirt get back white. But you told the girl that you didn't know why you married her.
The stains of the words remain.
It is not the issue a lot of times. It is what you say and do in the moment. Yeah. And so you must approach your relationship with that intelligent quotient, understanding that when you hurt your spouse, you hurt yourself.
Pastor Jeffrey, I want to jump on with you because with all that you've spoken about, I think that speaks to an individual that has a good sense of where they are. And they have done a whole lot of introspection to know all those things that you're talking about. So what about the ordinary guy that comes from a background where you don't process all of these things?
Hey. I tell you.
So it's not just my habit. It's the habits of my parents and all of that I've been immersed in.
I love
and
it.
then I now have a partner, or I'm in a relationship with someone that came with their own baggage too. So what do we do with their own bad habits? What do we do with all of that?
Yeah.
What do we do with all of those things?
As he asking the question as though you're making a conclusion.
What do we do?
So yeah.
I'm not
So
concluding
let me help you. Let me first tell you that I'm chief of sinners. I, Wendell Patrick Jeffrey, am the chief of sinners. In the sense that I grew up in a broken home, had no father figure, had no healthy man in my life to teach me anything. So what you're hearing from me now are behaviors and practices that I had to achieve for myself. So this is not me coming from any ideal home with all these fantastic norms and mores. I grew up on Lane Avenue to a broken family, stepfathers, illiterate mother. My mother was a maid. You know what I mean? The worst of the worst. And so how did I get to where I am? I understood what I needed to do in life in order to be better. And so when you say to me, Ezzy, that this sounds like a person who has self-actualized, but what do you do with a person who hasn't gotten there? Well, how do you get to the point of self-actualization? It is a choice. It's based on choices. And so there's some people who are listening to us, Liana, they're listening to Mix Essence, and they're saying, let them try David. I don't have the capacity to do it. You do have the capacity because God doesn't have stepchildren. And if he can do it for a worn out, no good, old-time gangster, trickster, nobody like me, he can do it for you. Yeah. You just have to want to do it. Yeah. You see? And if you're going to marry, and we're talking about relationships, we're talking about the killing of love. If you're going to marry, I am presuming it is because you want to enjoy your life. Marriage is an extension of you enjoying your life. Yeah. Why maintain a relationship where you're always arguing, you're always fighting, you're always cussing? I thought you want to enjoy your life. So if you're quarreling, you're cussing, you're fighting, why not do what it takes to not do those things? Why not begin to practice that? Because you might find that it might not work to better the current relationship you're in, but it makes you a better person. So even if you were to move on from the relationship that you're in now that is broken, you move on as a better person. Agreed. So do not be negative. Do not justify your negativity based on somebody else.
That's true. That's true.
Don't let them make you a bad person.
Yes, right.
You know, if my wife chooses to divorce me, of course I told my wife, I said, baby, if you leave me, I'm coming. Then, let's say she goes somewhere that I can't go. It would be easy for me to find another wife because
it worked on you.
Yes, I'm a sweet and nice guy. You see what I mean? but I'm not gonna leave her because she worked on her too, and she's beautiful, and she treats me nice, and I love that. So I'm not going anywhere. See what I mean?
I got you, and that makes a lot of sense. In one of our previous episodes, we spoke about seeing the person you're married to as your team member. So you face off together against the issue and not face off against the person.
Yeah.
And it's when you face off against the person that it's so easy to spew all these things at them and however it is that you're feeling, that can help to break down the marriage. I remember last night I wasn't feeling myself. I wasn't feeling too well. And so what I realized about me is that when I start to feel down on me, I project a lot. So there may be things that is going on with my husband that I wish would change. I would be a little better at, he would be a little better at, and so on. But I have the capacity to, I close my eyes, I open my hands, and I let go of him. Okay, God, you're raising him too. I ain't stressing about this. But when I am feeling down on me, it's easy for that voice in my head to say, why this boy just don't do this thing? Why this boy just don't do this thing? How long we waiting for this do? Well, I don't let it come out of my mouth, but it's still a battle in my head to not bring him down with where I am in my head. I'm saying all of that to say that sometimes when we nag, male or female, when we nag and we, point fingers, you should do this, you should do that, you should do that. Is it sometimes a reflection of where we are? Is there a better approach to pointing fingers than pointing fingers or nagging?
Yes.
Women tend to say we nag out of love. Is that actually true? Is that possible?
You know,
I'm talking to men, so y'all might see it.
You want us to shift the topic?
no, not at all. But yeah, and I hear you. I hear you. And I think it starts with us. And then Pastor Jeffrey mentioned, and you mentioned too, it has to do with our choices. Mm-hmm. It's a choice we have to make, a conscious choice. And over time, that will become an habit.
Yeah.
Because since, how do you think the negative habit started? We chose to do the wrong thing. And after doing it for so much time,
brought up in an environment that just did it.
That became a habit.
Yeah.
And so we have to choose. We have to choose to do right by ourselves and right by others. And I remember the text from the Bible, I don't remember exactly where. Esteem others greater than yourself. And love your neighbor as you love yourself. And so in my mind, what I expect from someone else, I must be able to give that and even more. And over time, you continue to see this other person as important, as special. And Pastor Jeffrey alluded to that when he spoke about his wife being an extension of him, but most importantly, a child of God as well.
Yeah.
And so once you can understand whose you are.
Right?
Yeah. And then you understand your purpose. And you understand your purpose, then we can really start to articulate and operate in that thing.
I don't want to be philosophical, right? I want to say that what happens to us sometimes is we categorize people. And if I think that I am better in my relationship than my wife, then I am reluctant to take advice from my wife. I am reluctant to believe that my wife is right and I am wrong. Because in my subconscious, I am the better one. I'm the more educated. I bring in the more money. I'm the most loved in the public. So my wife. So then when she tells me things now, because I have that subconscious depressive notion of her, I don't respect what she's saying. So what you have to do now, again, coming back to the point I was making earlier, is my mantra is the voice of my wife is the voice of God. I reason that in my head. The voice of my wife is the voice of God. My wife is my helpmeet. Right? I remember that when they came to Jesus and they said, "Good master, what can we do?" The rich young ruler. And Jesus said, "Call no man good. God alone is good." The same God turned back and said, "He that findeth a wife, findeth a good thing." So if God alone is good and finding a wife is finding a good thing, then the voice of your wife is the voice of God. That's my philosophy.
Okay.
Right. So what my wife says to me is of utmost importance. It's a default behavior I have.
Okay.
So I could be running down a road, know for sure that everything is going on right, and my wife says, "Hey, don't run." I said, "Why you say don't run?" What she says means a lot to me. I could well argue I'm the one with the degrees and I'm the one with the exposure and I could argue that, but I have chosen to admit factually that I could not have done what I do without the support of my wife. And if you were to ask my wife, because we talk about these things, she would likely say the same thing, that she is who she is as a result of the support she gets from me. And so because we want to be eternally happy, there are certain behaviors. For instance, the other day, my wife and I had a little discussion. I'm going to go my brother's waiting outside. My wife is telling me, "You should come with us because it would save money and stuff like that." And I think, anyhow, before I could really decide to go, she went out to the car. And I could hear my brother outside ask her, where is Wendell? Now, I am expecting my wife to say something negative to my brother because we just were arguing whether or not I should come. Okay. And she says to him, no, he's going to come later. Okay. She didn't have to say that. She could have said, I tell you come, and he say, you know.
It's by don't hear.
Correct. But because we are at this team, we don't come out in the public, and that's another thing that can kill love. Embarrassing people, talking about your spouse negatively in public, that can kill. So, yeah.
Okay, so we've identified some of these things. My question is to the persons that say newlyweds. You've just crossed over from the threshold of singleness and the courtship, and you're coming out to your honeymoon phase, so on. And you're getting down into the meat of the marriage, right? You notice that there are things about this person. You caught glimpses of it in your earlier phase, but you know everybody got their plastic and the lovely filters pre-marriage. So you're seeing the thing in the rawness now. He's do this, he's do that, she's do this, she said that. These things are starting to come out now in the relationship. What advice can we give to persons that are in that type of situation that are already wondering, did I make the right decision? I don't know this person. Or this thing is really withdrawing from my love bank. This thing is really taking from me.
It's really killing my...
It's really killing my love.
Killing my love. Like I said, my wife was 19. I was 21 when we were married. So we were novices. Young, inexperienced novices. And what complicated the situation is we both came from broken homes. Fatherless homes. With a lot of children. And one of the things that saved our marriage, because we went through that phase. I am from Guyana, ghettos, corrupt, deviant. My wife is from Barbados, a broken home. Her mother doesn't live. She is in her late teens. Her mother lives in America. She is the mother to a whole set of brothers and has to run the home as a teen. And so she's broken and traumatic. I'm broken and traumatic. And then we come together, these two broken, traumatic children. And so we went through the phase of almost, early in the relationship, getting divorced. We got there. And then we said, no, we don't have to divorce. So what we would do is we would quarrel and we would pray and cry while quarreling. It was funny. But we would hold hands and we would pray, and we would pray what we are quarreling about. God, I don't understand how she don't understand me. When it's her turn to pray.
With the next person?
Yeah, we hold her hands while I trying to tell her how she's wrong, and she prayed. We did that. And then we came up with a novel idea. I've never heard of it, and I need to copyright it. We start writing the cuss. We write the cuss. So we don't cuss no more verbally. We write in. I tell you that you were wrong when you did that. And if you had done it this way, I would not. Look, well, if you... So what that does, it allows you to express yourself. Because when you talk, nobody waits for the other one to finish. So you talk past each other. But when you write, you say, no, babe, that's not what really happened. What happened is that because you now are seeing each other's point of view.
Pastor, let me jump in there. I think early in my marriage, I argued a lot. And my wife had this ability to be so diplomatic about it. And she wouldn't say a word. But she would go and write these long 2, 3, 4 pages. She wouldn't even tell me that it's written, but I know the book. So I know where to find the thing. She leave it. And when you look at that and you now read it, because when you're arguing, you don't listen. Then you can now go through it slowly and you can see the sense and your nonsense and all of that. And unconsciously, you start to recognize that you are doing too much. This habit, we're talking too much and so on. And then later on, I recognized that, oh, well, this is not the way my wife would deal with this kind of thing. And I started to listen. Because first I thought that it was a man, because of how we came up, the man always spoke.
Right.
And, and so, and then after I started to listen, and you recognize how much sense was being imparted, but you with your nonsense, couldn't get it. And so like I didn't write back.
Okay.
I think I initiated once, but that was not my thing to write back. I could really like to talk and deal with it now, but my wife should give it time and so on. And just like Pastor Jeffrey mentioned, my wife would not embarrass me publicly at all. And that's one of the things that caused me to recognize that if my wife can stop, and she had all right to cuss me out,
yes, sir.
And she chose not to. And even in the face of family and friends, she has not dragged me down. Beautiful. It meant that I had someone that wanted to build me.
Right.
And if she's going to build me, then the least you can do is to reciprocate with it. You know what I mean? And then this year will be 10 years because we were given 1 year by some people. Some say 2.
I know the story.
My wife, we have 2 favorite songs. One of them is Let's Give Them Something to Talk About. Because we were so young,
right?
They gave us a year, 6 months. So let's give them something to talk about, And then the other one is look how long, I can remember just now. Something about the time, how long we've been together. Something. I'll find the song just now. But yeah, we got time. People give us time because they're thinking, you're not gonna work. Yeah. And so you're working with that in your head too. And you're trying to make sure that you navigate it. And another thing too, live your relationships one day at a time, right? I find that don't project, because don't try to project how long you're gonna be together. Just live each day and make that day count. Yeah. So every day, I do something to let my wife know that I love her and I care for her. You make up the bed, or you wash the dishes, or you do something that she would recognize in the whole scope of things, that he thought of me.
Guys, thank you. Thank you so much. We're already
out
of time. No. We're already out of time. But we know that there is so much more that we can discuss on this issue. We will be revisiting it because, again, you can't unpack a conversation like this in half an hour.
Not at all.
But your contributions were really welcomed and valuable. I hope that you benefited from the knowledge of Pastor Jeffrey and Ezzy. Continue to stay blessed. If it is that you do have some of these negative habits, destructive habits that are affecting your relationship, be willing to be honest with yourself. Have a conversation with you. What is it that I'm doing that is helping to cause the detriment of this relationship? And make one step each day to get better at it, to let it go. If both of you work on yourselves, your relationship will be much better. So take care. If you have not yet subscribed, do like and subscribe to our page so that you can stay in the know. Take care.